everybody to week 4 of my weekly anime round, where I go over everything that's going on this week in anime, what I don't like, basically just my general thoughts. And before I get started, I want to deeply apologize for the delay. There are 2 reasons for this. Reason 1 is that I just had a lot going on. I have a full-time job, and I've just been taking on extra responsibilities around the house. And reason 2 is that I have to wait a little while because some of the shows that I am watching come out later in the week, towards the weekend, so I have to wait until all of these shows are out before I can start doing this roundup. So I apologize for the delay, and let's get right into it. So it's starting to seem like this is the type of show where they're just gonna, do random things. They're going to New York. They stop in a place. They meet some people. Day 2 show up. They kill them, and then they move on. And it's kind of sad because it doesn't really leave a lot of room for character development. I like Titan. I think she's very fun. I like her energy, and I love her hair. Her hair is awesome. But we also now know that, as I mentioned, that Cosette is not a music art by choice. Somehow she was turned into one because she was killed in battle, and that somehow turned her into a music art. But that's an interesting concept to explore. But the show is not really explored that yet, and it's mostly just our heroes show up, they fight D2s, and then they leave, and it's honestly very boring. I'm hoping they meet some more interesting people because so far, it's not interesting so far. Okay, so on top of the main character, on top of the Catboy, who's my favorite thing in this series because I find him adorable, on top of the main of Yamato's childhood friend who is trying to find out what's happening in the city, we also have we now have a gangster girl who's is gonna get involved somehow, and she's part of this group, I don't know. And then we have these 2 nerds who are they're basically nerds, and I was wondering where Yuki Kaji was in this series, and now my question is answered. And the problem with this series is that there's so much going on with it, it doesn't really leave any room for the character to get actual development. We don't know anything about these people. We know that, the one girl, Ibrahim, I think her name is, the one with the short hair and the highlights, can jump into people's bodies, and now she's run away, and I don't know why. We know the one girl who Ibrahim was inhabiting now knows something fishy's going on. We now know, I love, that's pretty much it. That's all we know. They're one note, and we know one thing about everybody. I like the characters, but there's not a whole lot of plot. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a whole lot of plot. There's so much plot, and there's so many people doing so many different things that it's getting confusing. And I don't know who to keep track of. I don't know which plot line to follow. And the thing that annoys me most is that in the background, the battles are just really fucking boring. I literally end up skipping through all the battle scenes because I just don't care. They're blowing up mindless robots. They're blowing up some kind of thing. I don't even know anything about the villains, and it's really depressing me because I wanted to like this series, but it's not very good so far. Okay, so I think I've been pronouncing this show's name wrong. I think it's actually Garndal, but I'm just going to keep calling it Grandal because I'm spelling it correctly just for prosperity and just to make sure you know what series I'm at, but I'm going to keep calling it Grandal because that sounds better, and it's easier. So now there's an idol. I don't really know anything about her except that I think she wants to perform for people, and I think that her fans and the people in her life don't really think she's very good at it. I'm not really sure because it just kind of seems like girls are just gonna show up. Girls are gonna show up, and then they're gonna fight, and that's the same thing. It's the same thing with the fucking villain this week. Shows up, shows up, main characters fight her, then the people go, oh, that's enough for today, and then she bails off, and that's it. And it's really annoying because it would make for a really good series if we got a bunch of really cocky and insane pilots. That would be awesome. But nope, just some kind of nope. It's honestly just, I don't know why I thought I'd like this series, but honestly, I was really hoping I would. I was right. She's his sister. Oh my god, I was so right about this. And it's funny because initially when I said this to myself, I was actually making a joke. And I was thinking like, oh, I bet she's going to be I bet she's either, I speculated last week and I'm like, okay, she's either going to be his, battle, I don't know what they call them, the card monster that he used to fight with, or she's going to be his sister. She's his sister. Oh my god, I was right about this. And it's funny to me because somehow the dark-haired one knows her too. I don't know how. She's also the king, by the way, which I don't believe. But, I think, I still speculate that, either she's not actually the king or the main character used to be the king and she beat him, so now she is. But I find it funny. I was right. She's his sister. And I hope this leads to something interesting, but I highly doubt it. So, now we find out, I don't know what Eve being a vampire hunter is going to have to do with any of this. Like, is it going to end up that she... Actually, I don't know if Eve is a boy or a girl. Is Eve a boy or a girl? I don't know. I can't... Maybe I don't know. Well, Eve is a vampire hunter, and immediately upon meeting the vampire, I'm like, oh my god, I know who that is. And at the time he wasn't out... Not out as in out, but at the time the credits weren't out, so I'm like, I swear that's June freaking Hama. And I'm like, and I've been sitting there, and it's driving me crazy, and yeah, it is. It's June. It's June. It was June, and that's probably the highlight of the series, because one, he's my favorite Seiyu, and two, that was the most interesting thing that's happened to this show, but I don't know what this has to do with the actual plot. Like, I don't know what any of this has to do with the actual plot. Like, okay, the Eve is a vampire hunter. Okay, so what? Roman and his brother, who, by the way, is my favorite because he's so adorable. But he and his brother are on different sides, and then, we haven't really learned anything about him, but, he doesn't want to write music, and then the main character wants to sing, and I don't know what any of this actually has to do with the battle, the tournament thing that's coming up. I'm not sure what this show is going. Like, I'm curious to keep watching because I want to know. I really want to know where the show is actually going, but I genuinely have no idea where this show is going. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. At this point, I'm reserved only because none of it has actually connected yet, but, the episode at least was kind of interesting, and, at the very least, I've seen much, much worse. Okay, I will give this show credit. This was actually genuinely creepy. Like, first of all, it was fucking scary. And I'm not really enthralled with the show, but I will admit that this thing, it having to trap people in pumpkins is just, and then it's carving the pumpkin with them inside. So I can imagine if it punctures far enough in, it's gonna kill them. Like, oh my god. And they're still moving and they're still breathing in it. It's just, it's so creepy. It's so creepy. also, just, and it's set in this really, although I find it funny that none of her friends noticed, like, hey, have you seen so-and-so? Like, literally, none of them noticed, People are disappearing and you're all just out in the hall and nobody's looking around going, wait a minute, where is so-and-so? Like, where are these people? It's only when the main characters, like, the little main characters disappear that everybody's like, oh my god, something's wrong. So, I found that really funny. Like, literally, her friends are some nothing characters that nobody noticed they disappeared. Although I do, like I said, have to admit, the Digimon this week was really creepy, and I like the fact that they made this a Halloween-themed episode. That was actually pretty cool. Okay, so, everybody's assembled. He's in the arena. I find it interesting that, none of the other people in the arena are like, you don't know who's a candidate and who's not, and most of the people in the arena are just regular people who are just kind of there, which I find very strange, because you'd think Metropolitan would only want who he thinks are God candidates, or you'd think the other people in the arena would be people who have claimed to be God candidates, but no, they're just random people in the, that's weird. I guess it's mostly because it's a spectacle, but I really found that very strange. Although, I will give this show credit. If they end up killing the girl at the end, that'll be really ballsy for this show, because keep in mind, I don't think Death Note ever killed a child. I could be wrong. I really did not like Death Note, but as far as I know, Death Note didn't kill a kid. So that would be really fucking ballsy if this show just went all out and killed a child. I don't think that would be a bad thing, actually, not because I'm so supporter of child murder, but because I think it would help bolster the fact that Metropolitan gives no fucks. Like, he just doesn't care. If you are in his way, you are going to die. But that's pretty much it. Most of the episode is just them watching him, outsmart these two dumbasses who show up. And it's kind of entertaining, but at the same time, it's also kind of slow at the same time. Also, next week, I might stop doing this show because there is a dub coming out. And normally I don't watch dubs anymore because I found the new guard of dub actors to be kind of meh. But there's one actor in particular, or in this case actress, who I saw her name and I'm like, oh my god, is this who I think it is? Like, holy shit, if this is who I think it is, that would be really, really cool. So I'm probably going to watch at least one episode of the dub to see if the actress is who I think it is. And if it is, I'm going to go at this show from the dub perspective. I'm really, really, really starting to regret this show. Like, I love the premise. Okay, I love the idea of the main character having to kill the hero. But we haven't even met the hero. We're like on episode 4 or 5 and we haven't even met the hero he's supposed to kill yet. And he's like, now he's training this girl to be an assassin. And at the end, and of course, this girl has boobs bigger than her head. And I literally, upon seeing her design when she was older, I burst out laughing because her tits are so big. They're bigger than she is. And like, it's very clear that this girl is just supposed to be, this girl is going to be fan service bait, because at the end of the episode, she literally wakes up in his bed and is like she wakes up and she's just kind of there in his bed, and I'm like, wait, what? I thought these were supposed to be pregnant, and she's like, oh, you were tired, so I brought you something. I forget what it was. Like, oh, some kind of stupid excuse. Like, oh, I brought you something, and then I don't know, she fell asleep, or I don't know. She wakes up in his bed, and I'm just, this is so stupid. And not only that, he gives her a spear that's bigger than she is. And he's like, oh, he's trying to train her to be an assassin, right? So he's trying to train her with a knife, and he's like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Here, take this. And it's like a gigantic foldable spear. And she's like great with it. And I'm thinking, wait, so she was bad with the really tiny knife, but with the giant ass 6-foot spear, she's good with it? I don't understand that. I do like that they're getting back to the assassin plotline, but it's really stupid. And I was worried it was going to become really stupid, because the last one became really stupid. But I hope we at least meet the hero and find out he's a sadist nutjob. That would be awesome. So, this is the last one for the week, and I'm honestly kind of pissed because I was hoping this show would be better. Like, Yuo's, the one character I actually had interest in is not even in this show anymore, and it's really annoying because he was the character in this show I actually liked, and now it's just like, oh, the main characters are dueling, like, with what purpose? And there's no purpose, there's no plot, and it's really annoying. And like I said last week, I wouldn't mind a Yu-Gi-Oh series that's a little bit more chill, because, last season we've gotten cults and demon. Okay, the Marians weren't actually, they weren't demons, but we've gotten like cults and demon things, and the last 3 seasons have been completely insane, and I completely understand why we'd want a different type of Yu-Gi-Oh series, but you still need to have a plot, and you need to have something going on, and nothing is going on. It's just, it's so boring. It's so boring. And that's it for this week.